John Carter, the CEO of Haven Bites, has always been a strong believer in the importance of experiencing his company from the ground level. Determined to see his restaurants from the perspective of an ordinary customer, John decides to visit one of his establishments without anyone recognizing him. Dressed in a plain hoodie and jeans, he blends in easily with the crowd. As he sits down at a corner table, he carefully observes the staff, the food preparation, and the overall ambience. The restaurant is busy, filled with customers enjoying their meals. But John can't shake off the feeling that something is off. It isn't until he notices two young boys standing nervously at the counter that his attention is fully captured. The boys seem hesitant as they look at the menu, but there's an obvious reluctance in their body language, like they're afraid of making a wrong choice. The cashier seems to sense their discomfort but doesn't say anything. John watches quietly, his heart pulling at the sight of their thin figures and anxious expressions. John observes the boys for a few more minutes, his curiosity piqued. Liam, the older of the two, hesitates and then turns to the cashier with a soft voice. "Do you think we have enough for one burger?" he asks, glancing down at the small pile of change in his hand. Noah, his younger brother, stands beside him, his arms crossed, trying to look confident but failing to hide the worry on his face. The two boys are clearly struggling. John watches them intently, recalling his own childhood growing up without many resources and always worrying about what they could afford. He silently wishes he could do something to help. After a moment of silence, John makes a decision. He walks up to the counter and interrupts the interaction, gently placing his hand on Liam's shoulder. "How about I get that burger for you?" he offers, surprising the boys. Their eyes widen in disbelief. John smiles and orders not just one, but 2 meals for them, hoping to ease their troubles, even if just for a moment. The cashier looks surprised as John steps in and orders 2 extra meals for the boys. Liam and Noah stand frozen, staring at him, unsure of what just happened. Their initial shock gives way to a mixture of gratitude and disbelief. Why are you doing this?" Liam stammers, unable to comprehend the kindness being extended to him. John's smile widens as he responds, "Because everyone deserves a good meal." John pays for the meals, the transaction quick and smooth. The cashier hands over the food, and John motions for the boys to take a seat. As the boys slowly sit down with their meals, they exchange a look of shock and gratitude. John watches them from across the room, feeling a deep satisfaction that goes beyond just giving them food. He knows he has done something that will stay with them long after they've finished eating. Liam and Noah sit down at a small table near the window, cautiously taking the wrapped meals from their trays. They look at each other, unsure whether to eat right away or save the food for later. Finally, with a silent nod, they open their meals. The first bite is hesitant, but then they both smile in relief, savoring the taste. The food has clearly hit the spot, something they hadn't known they were desperately craving. As they eat, they begin to talk, telling John their story without realizing that he's still watching them from the corner of the room. Liam speaks first, his voice quieter than usual. "This is the first meal we've had in days that didn't come from a food bank," he says. His words are simple, but they carry a weight John can't ignore. Noah nods, his mouth full of food, but his eyes full of gratitude. The atmosphere in the restaurant seems to soften around them, as if the whole place has paused to witness this small act of kindness. After finishing their meals, the boys get up and approach John's table. There's a mixture of hesitation and gratitude in their eyes. "Thank you so much for the food," Liam says, his voice still soft but now filled with a new sense of confidence. He then tells John their story. They lost their mother a year ago, and their father has been struggling to find steady work since then. Their lives have been a constant challenge, moving from one place to another, never quite knowing where their next meal might come from. John listens intently, his heart aching as the boys recount their experiences. The words are simple, but the weight of their reality is clear. John can't help but feel a strong emotional connection to their story. John's heart is heavy as he listens to their story, but he knows that his ability to help extends beyond just offering a meal. Reaching into his pocket, John pulls out a special card, one that he's kept for occasions just like this. "This card will cover any meal you need at any of our restaurants," John says as he hands it to Liam, no questions asked. "And I also want to help your dad get back on his feet." The words are carefully chosen, but the impact is immediate. Liam's eyes widen as he looks at the card, his voice choked with emotion. "You really don't have to do this," he says, unable to fully process what's happening. Noah's eyes well up with tears, and without thinking, he wraps John in a tight hug. "Thank you," he whispers, overwhelmed by the kindness. John pats them both on the back, his voice steady as he reassures them. "Things will get better. I promise." On's offer doesn't end with a meal or a card. After learning more about the boys' struggles, he feels an overwhelming desire to help them on a much larger scale. Over the next few days, John works to create an opportunity that could change their lives forever. He reaches out to a few of his colleagues and partners to find out how they can provide the support. The boy's father needs to get back on his feet. It turns out that there's an opening for a job at one of John's other restaurants, a managerial position that would offer stability and a steady income. John immediately arranges a meeting with the boy's father and offers him the job, saying that he believes in second chances. The father, initially skeptical, listens in disbelief as John explains the job and how they could help him regain his footing. "You really want me to work at your restaurant?" the father asks, his voice uncertain. John smiles, assuring him that it's a real opportunity and that the restaurant could be the fresh start he needs. The father agrees, shaking John's hand, and John feels an immense sense of fulfillment. He has provided more than just a meal, he has given them a future. The day comes when the boy's father walks into the restaurant for his first day of work. He's nervous, unsure of what to expect, but John is there to welcome him. "We're glad to have you here," John says, offering a reassuring smile. As the father begins his training, John observes from a distance. It's not just a job for him, it's a lifeline, and the pressure to succeed is evident in every step he takes. But John knows that he has given him the best chance possible. As the day goes on, the father starts to gain confidence. He interacts with the staff, learns the ropes, and even shares a few laughs with his new colleagues. By the end of his shift, he is exhausted but proud. John meets him at the end of the day and offers him a pat on the back. "You did well today. Keep it up." The father's eyes shine with a new sense of purpose. It's the first time in a long while that he's felt a sense of accomplishment. That night, as he walks back home, he can't help but think about how much has changed in just a few days. He feels a renewed sense of hope, not just for himself, but for his boys as well. Liam and Noah can't believe the changes that have taken place in such a short time. Their father now has a stable job, and they no longer have to worry about where their next meal will come from. As they sit together at the table in their small apartment, they reflect on how their lives have turned around. The father looks at them with a proud smile. "We've come a long way, haven't we?" he says, his voice filled with gratitude. The boys nod in agreement, feeling a sense of safety they haven't felt in a long time. One evening, after their father's shift ends, they all sit together in the restaurant for a meal. The boys eagerly devour the food, their faces filled with joy. They share stories and laughs as a family, something they haven't done in what feels like forever. John visits them at the table, bringing them drinks and checking in. "How's everything going?" he asks, genuinely interested in their well-being. Liam looks up at John, his eyes shining. "It's amazing. Thank you for everything." John smiles warmly, knowing that he has truly made a difference in their lives. He has provided not just a meal, but a future, a chance at something better. Several months later, John checks in with the family to see how they're doing. The father is thriving in his new role at the restaurant, and the boys are excelling in school. They've been able to move into a better apartment, and their lives are no longer marked by uncertainty and hardship. The father thanks John again for giving them a chance, and the boys share their dreams for the future. Liam wants to become a chef, inspired by the meals he's had at the restaurant, while Noah dreams of one day working alongside his father. John looks at them and smiles, knowing that the future holds endless possibilities for them. He tells the boys, "Whatever you want to do, you can achieve it. Don't ever stop believing in yourselves." The family looks to the future with hope, ready to take on whatever challenges come their way. The dark days are behind them, and they are now united as a stronger, happier family. As John walks away from the restaurant, he feels a deep sense of fulfillment. His decision to make a difference, even in a small way, has changed the lives of those he met. And as for Liam and Noah, they now have a bright future to look forward to.